Welcome to the Instinctive Influencers Podcast, a show where influence becomes one of your tools for success. Now, here are your hosts, Brian Weber and Ed Haley.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I am James.
Not the guy that it says on the announcer voice. You're not Ed. You're Ed. You're James. Okay.
It's a throwback.
Just want to make sure. Hey, great to see everybody out there wanting to watch. Obviously, I can't see you. That'd be kind of creepy. But it's been a little while, but that's okay. We're back in the mix of things. You're moved into your house, so now you have your studio, so to speak. I've got that kind of situation going on for me now, which makes it a little bit easier to kind of like arrange these things and say, all right, we're dedicated to this on this day, blah, 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 It's good. Love your sign in the back there, a little Bastogne.
Yeah, I miss it. I do miss it.
If people are in tune with us as we think they are, they would know that we there's a great deal of meaning behind that for us. So yeah, we were talking before the show began. There was a lot of discussion. Actually, we've been talking for over an hour and a half.
I know,
James. The one thing that I wanted to bring up is you had mentioned up above your head there, you've got the helmets and stuff. They are not spaced very well. I'm just going to tell you right now. You did say, okay, because you mentioned between Batman and Darth, there's, like a big gap, but then you go between Darth and your stormtroopers there, like there's another gap, but then the stormtroopers, it's like they're all huddled together having a discussion about everybody else. I don't.
Well, I'm missing Red 5. I mean, Luke.
Okay.
I'm missing the Luke helmet, and I'm missing a Princess Leia helmet. And then on this side, I don't know what I'm missing.
I can't see it. We can't see on that side.
Yeah, there's another side with Venom and Carnage and Star-Lord. But I'm missing a Spider-Man helmet. And then I also had the gloves. But when I measured this, Brian, fun fact, I didn't put up one of the Lego gloves to see the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So I can't put it up there unless I have it just balled up fist. So they're on a different shelf now. But I did just get the Wolverine. I just got the Wolverine claws.
Yeah. That's like so you measured it with like this, but it looks cooler like that, right?
Yeah. Well, it looks cooler if you do it like that, right? Because it's the Infinity Gauntlet. Or the Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I have them. I can see them.
Yeah. Well, I brought to the party. You can see him right here. You can kind of see him in a crouching position. This is yours and mine, our favorite, Roy Benavidez.
Yes.
G.I. Joe version. For those of you who have been listening for a while, we are a huge fan of Roy Benavidez. And if you look right here, you can barely see it. That book right there, that's the book Legend. And that's a great book if you really want to understand the story of Roy Benavidez.
I love watching you reach for the book too. Like you're like, it's right.
You got to get the finger right there. And then, this was a gift from Mr. James Haley right there.
Yeah, that's me. I did that.
That's it. Yeah, I finished it. I didn't read it. I audiobooked it. But that is, let me tell you, that's a long book. And I will say that I was definitely entertained because he did not hold his opinion whatsoever.
No, and he was very unpopular because of it.
I really do believe some of the things we're going to talk about today, we could almost reference him, when we get into our conversation about the growth mindset, because he kind of embodied that, when he was talking about changing the tactics in Vietnam and we need to do this instead. And he tried to get everybody to do it and no one would listen to him. He's like, no, we've got to change, and so I think he would almost embody that. He probably would. I would like to think he would enjoy the conversation and be able to give us a real good idea of what it truly means.
I would sit down and have a couple drinks with him anytime. It would be interesting too.
Absolutely. So new facts. You basically have handed over the reins.
I
from
have.
the job of running the BLC program there at Campbell. And now you're entering into a new era, or not really new era. You're just kind of like transitioning over to kind of prepare for the retirement, which we discussed. The retirement party is going to be in July-ish. I can't wait.
Yep. I can't wait. Believe me, I can't wait.
Yeah. I'm excited. I can't wait to be there.
By 1 August, I should be working on the beard a lot more serious than I am right now.
You're gonna get the retirement beard, are you?
I'm gonna get the vitamins and the massage oil. Yeah, we're gonna get I'm never shaving again, and I'm never wearing boots again.
Oh, man, that's crazy. I'll probably shave the rest of my life because there's no growing of facial hair in like certain patches on my face, so it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
There's products you can get products that can help.
There is. I mean, I get it.
I think you'd look pretty gnarly with a beard.
I don't think so. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe if it had the nice salt and pepper that's in the hair area, you know.
Well, that's what we ain't doing that. I'm not. It's more
right.
Salt.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, James, we're gonna get into a topic today, and I think it's like, even I think I sent it to, like, as I sent it to you, like, and I said, hey, I think these are the two, because I sent you another one also. These are the two topics I think we should hit upon, and I really feel like this topic, it hits upon that whole idea of lifelong learning that we always discuss and we talk about and we kind of like reference. And it's continuous learning through growth mindset type thing. Before we like jump into the data and the talking points we want to hit upon for the audience, is there like something that like is just on your mind about it? Do you think about and you're like, hey, you know, this is why I think this is a good topic for us to go over, anything like that?
No, so you look at it, and what I like about it, Brian, and the notes is it really doesn't do the military focused, right? It's talking about outside the militaries, which as I prepare, this is good for me because this is helping me to understand what I need to do to be successful when I retire here in a few months. So, I mean, continuous learning. First thing I think about is, how more and lifelong learning. So, very interested in the topic. I think the discussion will be great. I think the experiences will add something to it, and I am ready to go.
I do want to bring it up because I'll reference it a few times throughout the show. I'm actually listening to it. I thought I had the book, the actual hard copy book, but I'm not seeing it on my row of books I have a bookshelf in front of me. Also, these aren't the only books that I have, but there's a bunch in there and I don't see it anywhere. But I wanted to bring it up. This is a great book by Carol Dweck. It is mindset, and it goes into the new psychology of success, and it's the growth mindset type thing. Yeah, I think you do have it. I want to say you do.
Yeah, it's upstairs in the Lego lounge, but I do have it.
Yeah, and I'm actually, because when I get a chance to drive and to drive from where I'm at Hunter to Fort Stewart, it's an hour drive. So it's perfect for me anytime I have to go there, because I already know I have to drive there. That's 1 hour and 1 hour back. So I get to listen to things. I got to drive to the NCO Academy week before last, because I was the guest speaker there for their graduation, and I got to listen to it on the way. And I literally, because I had already written my speech, I almost changed my speech on the drive because of some things she brought up. And I thought, this is the right audience to be saying this to, because they're about to be that next first sergeant, master sergeant group, So great book, though. Really good.
That's interesting. I'm going to have to go look for your speech. We'll go find it on the book.
Oh, wait, maybe. I don't. Yeah, I think it is. It's
Fort Stewart.
Yeah, it's the Fort Stewart NCOA. It was there. I think it was the 26th was when we did it. So, hey, we're basically going to get into today. We're going to talk about basically continuous learning and the growth mindset. So the growth mindset is separated from another mindset called the fixed mindset. And we'll talk about the fixed a little bit. But really, leaders can encourage a growth mindset basically within their teams, within the groups that they work with, by basically learning to develop them towards that growth mindset, basically repositioning how they think about failure. Like, I mean, if you can't learn from failure, then really what's the use? Stretching beyond the comfort zones. Sometimes you'll hear, and I think it was mentioned when I did the show with John Bonilla about learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is a growth mindset. That's allowing us to kind of create a culture of feedback, show genuine care, to be able to kind of like help the team evolve, and to learn from those mistakes. That's kind of the big thing, and a big part of it really though is, can the leader, model that behavior and show that, hey, listen, it's okay to say, you know what, I didn't ever think of it that way. Let's try that avenue of approach, So I really think, getting into it, that's going to be our big, I guess, synopsis at the end, or our conclusion at the end of like, hey, if you can do anything, look at it as it's a new way of learning, growing, and whatnot. You got anything, James?
I do actually. So just brought to mind a book that I've been listening to, Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. Yeah,
Great book.
I've been reading that book, and it has to do with this, right? Like controlling that ego plays very much in your ability to not only assist your growth, right?
Yeah.
But also for you as the leader to check that ego and say, hey, it's okay to mess up. I messed up. I didn't think of that thing. I didn't do this, So I have a NCO. He just doesn't like to make decisions, and it's that fear. And I keep telling him, make a decision. If it's the wrong decision, we'll talk about it. As long as nobody gets hurt, just make the decision. Don't be afraid to take that chance. Yeah. And I'm trying to get him to adjust his mindset that failure is the end of his career, and it's not.
Yeah.
But the way I explain it to him, and honestly, and what we do as non-commissioned officers, especially seniors, is failure is not the end of your career.
No.
Fear to make a decision could hurt your career. That's what could hurt your career. And he's gotten better over the last year I've had him. But yeah, he just was paranoid to make a decision. And even when he would make one, he would make the decision and then come back to me and say, hey, this is what I was thinking. Yeah. Okay. Nobody got hurt, right? No. Did it work out? Yes. Okay. Why are we having this discussion right now? Like, make a decision. So yeah.
Yeah, and I like to kind of preface that with make sure it's not illegal, immoral, and unethical. If you do if you can just follow those three, you're going to be fine. Make a decision, and it is, a lot of times it's that fear of failure, which is going to be a thing we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about fear of failure. And I think a lot of times we don't realize many of us have a fear of failure, and we just don't. We skirt around it somehow, and we get past it in other ways. One thing, leaders can provide opportunities for learning, skill development, and professional growth by developing personalized learning paths for each team member. Right. So when we think about this, when we think about the growth mindset, when we say personalized learning paths, that's saying you're not the same as I am in our own way. Like we may like the idea that we're both learning the same thing, or we're learning from this same thing, but we're not learning the same way, and I think, and that's probably a struggle that a lot of leaders have is it's like, I don't want to adapt to you. You need to adapt to me. No, that's our job. I think we hit upon this during our discussion beforehand, where we were talking about some leadership flaws that we've noticed in our presence recently or in the past, where they don't want to allow people to learn in the way that best fits them. Instead, it's like, you will do it this way, or you will make sure you get this done. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha. But instead, what they're doing is they're getting in the way of that. It's the growth mindset, not the fixed mindset, which we'll talk about the fixed mindset.
Yeah.
So with that being said, so I talked about each team member offering learning and development opportunities to fill skill gaps. All right. And creating a culture that values continuous learning. Yeah. That's important. They can also use performance management to identify training opportunities and provide support for career development. So when we think about this, James, we go into the idea that we're creating a culture. I can tell you that it seems like in most cases, what I've seen is the culture is like that foundation in anything we do, whether it be doing the right thing, doing the wrong thing. If we're doing anything, do we approach the problem, or do we just sit there and wait? Because the culture has developed this. Like I'm scared to do something or I'm not. Either I know what to do or I don't. Either I have the leader that will support me or I won't. It's that culture. And I think we're going to get into a deep conversation about culture down the road on another episode, because I really do like it's a hard hitting topic for me right now. And it's creating, in my organization, I'm working towards a culture. I'm trying to get, and it's not me, it's more my commander wants it that way. And I am very eye to eye with him on this. Like, I think we're going to, like, we know exactly where we need to be. But if you create that culture, then people want to develop. They want to learn. They want to kind of push beyond those boundaries that they had, if that makes sense.
No, it 100% makes sense. Because when you think about it, right? So if you're in an organization where the culture is bad, you get a lot of complacency. You get a lot of, I really don't care. I don't care if I make the organization better, because that's the culture you came into. So you'll see it a lot. I've seen it a lot as an NCO, as a leader. You get to an organization, you got that fire. You're ready to make some changes. You're ready to adjust things, but it's like you're fighting a losing battle, because you're trying to change the culture, but the culture is so ingrained and embedded in everyone that they don't want to change. And we're going to talk about that, the resistance to change. It's not an easy thing. You just got to persevere. Again, resilient. We're going to talk about that. I am leading us into so many topics right now that we're going to talk about today.
I think what we're doing is we're going to jump in right to because we have 6 little areas we're going to talk about, but then and then on top of that, we're going to go into the actual how we're going to overcome, because those 6 areas are the challenges you face in the growth mindset. And then we're going to go, well, you know what? Let's talk about how do you overcome those challenges? Because a lot of times, and that's part of a growth mindset, right? Part of a growth mindset is like, oh, here's the problem. Here's a fix. Doesn't mean it's the fix. However, it's a fix, and you could try to utilize it. And if it doesn't work, then you start tweaking. You start turning that little knob, that little change knob, until you get to the right setting. It's kind of like a focus of a camera. If you own a camera, you understand it. Normally on your lens, you have 2 different bezels. If you have like I have a Canon up here, which isn't working right now, and it's kind of upsetting me because I did something and it didn't work. However, on that, it has 2 bezels. So it has the one that kind of brings the view in and out, and then it has the focus. Now, I could have the view perfect all day long, and they're like, yeah, that's the view I'm looking for. But if I don't adjust that focus to get it dialed right in, it's gonna look like garbage, right? It's not gonna look good, whether it be a picture or whatever. Now, are there really cool pictures? They're like the out of focus pictures, absolutely. But those are the right pictures for a certain type of setting. When it comes to the growth mindset, you got to work at. You got to get your view in, and then you got to work on that focus, and you got to dial it right in.
Yeah, like I talked about before, you also got to realize like where you fit into an organization, where your team would say. So like me, if I want my office to be nice and neat and organized. And, I spent a lot of time working in motor pools with the mechanics, and their stuff is scattered everywhere. So my soldiers are like, well, look how their area looks. Right. We're not concerned with their area. What we're going to do is worry about our housekeeping first, and then it would spread. And then eventually what happens is, my supervisor would come in and be like, wow, this office looks great. They should all look like this. And then you can have that influence on the mindset of the organization and the culture. But from your little small piece, now you're having that outside influence, which is super important. Because obviously I could be like, well, if they're going to be like that, I'm fighting a losing battle. I ain't going to worry about it. Just y'all have the office how you want to have it. No, it's going to be this way. I'm going to run things this way because this is my piece of the pie. And I'm going to hope it'll spread in a positive way.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny. You brought up the look of an area. That's kind of been like one of those things, those paintbrushes I've been using with my organization too. It's like if you look good, you tend to feel good. If you tend to feel good, you work good. If you work good, the
Yep.
performance is where it needs to be. Like, I mean,
I'm,
it's just kind of one of those things.
I'm gonna tell you, Brian. When I took this job at BLC a year ago, first thing I did, clean, organize my office, put up my awards and stuff over my career. And some people are like, "Well, I don't agree with that." Well, I do, because then it shows them like, "Wow, he's been there, he's done that.
Yeah.
I want to be there.
Yeah.
How do I get there?" And then it leads them to look to you for some kind of mentorship. When they see my office is clean, first thing they said is, "Uh-oh, if his office looks like that, mine should look like that because I work for him." And now I have others cleaning their offices. Still a losing battle. Some people are just slobs.
Yeah,
Just
well,
the way it is, unfortunately. But you know what I mean? Like, that's the first thing I do. Like, in the military, we're taught to observe when you first take a job. Right. I'm observing. But in my time, because you're not in charge for the first 30 days, I'm doing other things that are already spreading my influence before people even have talked to me or met me and that's just one example.
I think, and what you just brought up, that's actually going to be one of our points we're going to talk about in basically overcoming the challenges with the growth mindset.
I read the notes. I read the notes.
I hope you did, because we have a few pages worth here. If you're watching, you can see I've got 3 pages here in front of me. We try to kind of give you an idea. We do try to have something prepared. That way we're not rambling way off, but I mean, we can ramble. And that's why James and I like to have a talk beforehand, because that's where we get everything out there. And actually, sometimes those talks, they integrate back into the show because it gets into our topic, so the very first thing that I wanted to bring up when it comes to leaders the challenges that leaders face with the growth mindset is that resistance to change. And we've done a lot about resistance to change. We've had discussions over the years, and I say years, it's funny because we have been doing this since 2018.
It's been a while.
We've been doing it for a while. A great book that I reference throughout it's called Leading Change by Cotter, and it's the Cotter model of change is a great way of looking at things. But here's what our notes have to say about resistance to change. People often resist change due to fear of the unknown or comfort with the status quo. This resistance can hinder the development of a growth mindset, which requires openness to new ideas and perspectives. To me, James, in that sense, what we're thinking is like, I don't know what's going to happen, what you said earlier, if we do this. I'm worried that this could go bad. So what I'm doing is I'm creating all these assumptions that are not facts yet, right? We're taught in MDMP and building COAs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The biggest thing we have to do in the military decision-making process is we have to take assumptions and turn them into facts, all right? Our ability to say, we think this will happen, and changing that to, we know this will happen, it comes through experience, right? It comes through not just analyzing the data, but actually processing it into a certain set. So if we say that in the growth mindset being, okay, we want to change how we process, let's say, getting new parts, right? Or new inventory, right? We want to change because the old way is there's creating a funnel. So, but what happens is people will be scared to change from that old way because they feel so secure. Like, we know what's going to happen here versus, what if we decided to have distribution A, distribution B, distribution C, and they receive it a certain way, and then they can start pushing out the parts to the organizations the way they need to go, instead of it just being, all right, well, we just have this one person who processes it. Like, to me, a growth mindset says, why don't we kind of spread the wealth across different groups, people, to basically, it's like many hands making work a little bit easier than one person over here just doing it all the time, I guess, like, that is my quick example of it. What would you go with that?
I'm going to tell you the one thing with resistance to change. So we just implemented doing land navigation, been gone since 2019. They stopped doing it.
We stopped at 18. Yep.
So they stopped doing it in 18. We're bringing it back. And initially, a lot of the cadre that worked for me, they were really resistant to it because they're like, we haven't been doing it. It's going to be terrible. We're not with it, we don't know how to do it. So we developed our plan to move forward. Like, hey, we're going to do this at this date. Then this date, the cadre are going to get certified doing it. And then we're going to take baby steps. And it worked really well. And then as we got through it, so now we're doing day night nav. Then they said, hey, we're going to do nightland nav, which is extremely difficult. To me, I think it's very difficult. Everybody's like, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be terrible. I'm going to tell you that on their first time doing it, it was really well organized. There were small things. Of course, we AAR'd it. See our episode about doing after action reviews. We AAR'd it, but I was shocked. And I told myself, again, how do you feed that growth mindset? And we're going to talk about building teams. I pulled them together and said, hey, like, we all expected this not to go smoothly, but you guys put so much work into it. This went fantastic. And that opens their mind so they can see, like, we were resistant at first, but as we opened up and stopped being so resistant, we created this thing. And now they're doing Nightland Nav, which you and I didn't even do back in 2015 to 18.
No.
So they haven't done Nightland Nav at this BLC ever.
Right.
It's the first time they're doing it. To my knowledge, at least going back to 2012, they had done it. So that's what happens.
I went to PLDC at Campbell in 2001. We didn't do like nighttime.
Yeah. So just kind of an idea of how overcoming that resistance to change. And we're going to talk about that, but just a really good story. I'm very proud, like a proud leader moment for me was watching how much work they put in and the outcome from it.
No, absolutely. And it's funny. I feel like we got the opposite sides of this because I was the one that had to implement removing it, right?
Yeah.
And I had so I was removing stuff to putting the new stuff in. So I was going through that change, right? You're shifting stuff to put it back in. So it's kind of like we were good at it. Like, I mean, there was a while there, I think we actually got like 100% pass rating because not only because we trained it right the first time, but when people didn't get it right, we had a good retraining process, right? And to me, I think that kind of developed that growth mindset because a soldier may have went out there and thought, I can't do this. Like I failed. I'm not going to, but then we were able to help them through that. And I think that's some of the processes we're going to talk about. You want to hit upon number 2 then?
Yeah, so number 2 is fear of failure. A growth mindset involves viewing failure as opportunities for learning and improvement. All right, so people see failure, and we're, like I said, we're always afraid of failure. But the one thing I remember, and let me real quick, boom, kintsugi. It's called kintsugi. It's a Japanese term, and it's for golden repair. So think about a piece of pottery, right? And it breaks, right? So that's our failure. And then what they did is kintsugi is putting that piece of pottery back together. So if you've ever seen a piece of Japanese pottery with like gold lines all through it, the gold lines is kintsugi. But now what they've done is they've taken this failure and they've made it into something beautiful, right? Yes. Something valuable. And that's what that kintsugi is. Shout out to the Calm app that I use for teaching me this term. But you've taken something that you viewed as a failure, but now you've made it something better. And that's what we have to do with failure. We have to view it as an opportunity for growth and to become better, to improve ourselves. Now, if you're consistently failing at everything you do, then we have to relook some things and we have to figure out why. But if you fail at something, it's not the end of the world. Again, going back to your 3 points, right? I always say life, limit, eyesight, illegal, immorally. As long as it doesn't fall into those realms, then use it, grow from it, develop it, after action review it. See our episode on after action review, and then come up with your plan of action moving forward. What's next? How do I improve this? How do I grow from this? And I think that's what fear of failure. That's kind of my spiel on fear of failure. I love the kintsugi idea. The first time I heard it, I used it on my daughter. So. Actually, somebody, I think it was my battalion chaplain. I was talking with him the other day. We were discussing something. He brought up
that particular design, that Japanese art. Kintsugi. Right?
Kintsugi. Yep.
Okay. I did see a video. I think it was either like Instagram or something like that. I saw the guy, it was broken and he put it all together and put the gold in it and whatnot. The thing that kind of grabs my eye here is it's the fear of failure comes from the fear of negative consequences, right? So it's attached to it, right? Failure, negative consequences. Like it's like we've got these magnets. Like it's a magnet and it's attached to metal all the time, and we think that that's what's going to happen. As a leader, our ability is to try to reverse one of the magnets so it pushes away, right? How do we do that? How do we, it's just me, by saying, hey, what did we learn from it? It's a quick question. What did we learn from that? Did we learn anything? What could we learn from that? Instead of, there'll be the times where, and I feel a little attached to this because recently, and I've tried through the years to kind of control my anger, like not get mad about things. And I can frankly say that last Thursday, I want to say it was towards the end of the day. I think it was Thursday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember the day, but I addressed with a sergeant and his sergeant first class my disappointment, and I made sure they understood how disappointed I was. But at the same time, I think back, I'm like, was I too negative? Was I bringing it a certain way to where now he has this negative, like he's scared of negative consequences that I'm going to get mad and like I didn't yell, right? Because I don't enjoy that. But I made sure verbally that he understood through my language that I was disappointed in how things were going and it wasn't working right. And when we make those mistakes and we don't correct them, we're affecting other people, right? And could he now be fear of what he thinks is consequences instead of, okay, how do we make the program better? How do I do the things that need to be done to get people's information where it needs to be, right? And I think it's really just us asking the right questions, right? Well, what did we learn, and how can we fix that? What do you think we can do? So, I mean, that's my take on it, man.
And then the last thing, Brian, just gonna lead you right into the next point, but like one of the things that causes this is fear of criticism, right? But is it criticism or is it feedback? Because there's a line between the two.
Yes.
Right. And effective feedback, as you're getting ready to share with us, is a big thing in this growth mindset.
Absolutely. So ineffective feedback and recognition. Well, we had two. So ineffective feedback and recognition. So remember, recognition may not be a good thing. Feedback and recognition are vital for fostering a growth mindset, as they provide information, guidance, and motivation. However, ineffective feedback and recognition can hamper or prevent a growth mindset. I think this comes down to knowing who you're speaking with, right? Yeah. I felt like, okay, so I'm going to go back into that same scenario. I felt like that I had given that person, that soldier, feedback multiple times. And I said, if you do this, you'll be fine. If you do this, you'll be fine. You got to implement this and you'll be fine. Like, I felt like I was doing the right thing. And maybe it wasn't effective. Maybe I have to reevaluate what I was saying to him to figure out what do I need to do to get through to him, like, and it was like, what I got upset about was super simple that I felt, but maybe it wasn't super simple for that soldier, right? Sometimes we don't realize that, like, our communication process, which we've talked about communication lots of times, and we're going to probably discuss a little bit more, is it may not work for everyone, right? Like I tell my first sergeants all the time, I'd rather send all of them a text message really quick and get the message out. And if they want to call me or they want to email me or they want to text me back, like, I want to allow them to reach back to me in the manner that they feel will get the message across for them, right? So I shoot out a message, and maybe if they don't understand, they can give me a call, say, hey, what do you mean by this? Like, that's creating effective communication, feedback, recognition. Here's another thought process. when we think about recognition, ineffective recognition. What if we're recognizing somebody who is more of an introvert, right? We've talked about introvert, extrovert personalities. A lot of times an introvert doesn't want to get up in front of their peers, their subordinates, their seniors, and be recognized. Instead, they like the idea of it's just you stopping by and say, hey, thank you very much, right? So it's like it's getting to know people, which falls back onto the whole resistance to change, to building the whole program, to basically it comes down to individualizing, And how does that work? If you're, say you're a CEO or a CFO or something like that of a unit or an organization that's like 300 plus, you can't reach all 300 all the time. Like you'd have to talk to multiple people a day to even get through everyone in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
I've had units before where I had over 400 a while back, over 400 people, and as a first sergeant, and I couldn't talk to everybody. I'd have to talk to everybody once every 6 months. You talk to them twice. Come on. That's it's insane. So I guess really it's like noticing what is effective communication, what's not. My solution to this, we'll get into that in a little bit. One of my solutions is asking the right questions, asking the questions where you're receiving feedback of what's being said.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Well, I'm going to tell you, first thing comes to mind, ineffective recognition. This is our award system in the military. Everybody gets awards. Not everybody. A lot of organizations give awards based off rank. That's ineffective because you have a certain rank and you get that award, you're teaching the juniors that, well, that dude doesn't do anything, but he got that. So that means I don't need to do that much to get my award. Same thing, blanket awards when we were deployed. If you were this rank, you got this award. If you were this rank, you get, but that's ineffective recognition because you're giving them a reward based off of a performance that may be subpar. Instead of saying that's not what you deserve, or instead of saying, you know what, you perform well above your peers, and I'm going to recognize you as such. Yeah, my mentor did that for me as a sergeant. I got an award from Sergeant Major, retired right. I remember distinctly people saying you can't give an E5 that award, and he said, "Well, show me in a regulation where it says that, and I will change his award." And he did not change that award. Matter of fact, he gave meritorious service medals to like 5 or 6 E5s, might have been more. E5s. That's unheard of in the military because everybody wants to put a rank on it.
Yeah, you're right.
One person stood up and said, no. That's not what we're doing. So that's where I go with ineffective recognition. And then with the feedback, Ryan, honestly, it boils down to, here's what you did. Hey, what do you think about this? Yeah. Because I like to have a discussion if I'm going to give you feedback. Hey, you did this and it worked okay, but do you think it would have been better if we ran 5 iterations for the fitness test? Well, I would need more graders. Well, I can get you more graders. Do you think it would be more efficient? Well, yeah, I do. So that back and forth, right? That's effective feedback because now I got buy-in because I didn't just tell you, this is what you did. This is what you need to do. This is where you're messed up. This is what you did great. You told me this is what I need to do it better. So those are my big things on effective feedback and recognition, Brian.
Yeah, you brought up the awards thing. It's funny. I recently just opened up like a chat to it was my first sergeant group, right? Because I try to keep our conversations. It's just the 4 of them and me. That just no one else in it. And then I have other chat groups that they can all be a part of. But that particular one, I opened it up about awards, and it was funny to kind of see where certain people's mindsets was it, and it made me wonder, were they in a fixed mindset or were they in a growth mindset? And it's definitely interesting. I want to leave that for another time. I don't want to kind of let the cat out of the bag on that and how the discussion went. It was nothing of like, I know we're doing it. I want to know, right? If I don't know, if I don't ask for opinions, which to me I think that's an unused resource or an untapped resource, is creating a group discussion on a topic that you just want their opinions on, and then say, well, why? Why do you feel that way? What makes you feel, because you really can get a lot from that. And then you can also, you can gauge somebody's mentality in so many other things in just asking them why on this one thing.
Yeah.
I don't mean it's not like judge a book by its cover. However, you get a lot from that. So how about we move on to that very next one, man, number 4.
Oh man, this one. Fixed mindset culture. So if the organizational culture promotes a fixed mindset, believing the abilities are innate and unchangeable, it can be challenging for leaders to foster a growth mindset. This goes back to like us. You come into an organization, you got this idea of what you want to do, and you get there and it's like, yeah, no, this is how we've always done things. I hate that phrase. I hate that phrase.
Yes.
But that's a fixed mindset culture. As soon as you hear that, well, hey, why do we do this? Hey, why do we run every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? Going old school, I know that's not the way anymore, but back in the day, why do we run every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? Well, that's just the way we've always done it. Right, but why? Going back to Simon Sinek, what's the why? Well, and when they can't tell you and they just say, well, that's just how we've done it. And a lot of times you'll peel back that onion a little bit and you'll find that that's just the way we've always done it might not line up with policy or doctrine, and then you're like, wait a minute, so we've just been doing it this way, but it's actually wrong. So that's kind of where I'm with that fixed mindset culture. I'm telling you, you get in, and then when you look at the military, you divide it into certain career fields, have certain cultures, and at BLC we try to stop profanity. We won't want profanity in the classroom, and the first thing they say, "Oh, that's just part of my culture. I'm an infantryman." Well, no, it's your excuse for using profanity because it's really not a cultural thing.
No.
It's just acceptable in your culture for whatever reason. It doesn't make it right. So because in the trusty handy dandy blue book of Fort Campbell, it literally says no profanity on Fort Campbell. So can your culture supersede the doctrine? So that's just one example. That's one that irks my nerves, is that because they always say that. Well, it's just my culture to swear. No, it's not. Oh.
No, yeah.
So,
and I've actually heard some people say that recently, and I was just like, you know what? That's okay. If you're unable to communicate with me without profanity and be able to explain without using certain adjectives, pronouns, whatever you want to call it, I don't really know if you know how to properly communicate sometimes. Now, have I used said words? Absolutely, I have.
Yeah.
And I may have done it more than once, and recently even, but it's also kind of recognizing that, right? And that's the fixed mentality, right? Fixating on this is how I don't think you can explain it any other way. This is how we've always done it. That is the most fixed mentality anyone could ever get.
Worst phrase ever.
It is. And the funny thing is, it's like you still hear it all the time, even though people want to create change. And it's a lot of times, majority of the time is because they don't know the answer to the question being, well, it's just because that's how we do it. That's their quick answer, right? It's just giving, or they don't want to change. It's one of those two things. Most of the time, because if you think about it, just listen. Those of you out there who are listening now with us, the next time you hear somebody say, well, that's the way we've always done it, then peer into why. Why did they say that? Is it because they didn't know the answer or because they didn't want to change? It's one of two, right? And me not showing that I'm in a growth mindset, not a fix, I would more than welcome you telling me another reason. But, that's just how we always do it. That's how we do it at the Extinct Influencers. That's what we do.
That's just the way we've always done it.
Yeah. Hey, so we're going to move on to number 5. This one is lack of trust. And this one is important. And I think when we get in our next show, actually, we're going to talk about trust a bit. But trust is crucial in any company or organization. If employees or subordinates do not trust their leaders to act in their best interests, it can be difficult to foster a growth mindset. Simon talks about it in this book. See how I did that? I was able to kind of get right in there. Yeah. He talks about the circle of safety, right? And the circle of safety is feel like you don't feel like you are having to face inward in the organization, worried about your job, worried about position, things like that. Instead, you're able to face outward of the organization to protect one another, to kind of protect each other from the dangers because you trust one another, right? One of my ways, and we're gonna talk about some of these challenges, the solutions to these challenges in a moment. However, one of my ways to kind of get after this is my door policy. I've had this door policy probably since I think Korea. My last time I went to Korea, that was 2019. Yeah, I went to Korea. I want to say that's when I kind of started it because I felt like I didn't know how to address people just being able to approach me, right? And I thought, what better way to say anybody can come see me if the door is wide open? If the door is wide open to my office, any person in the organization can come see me. Now, I do have a rule. You have to bring somebody with you because I feel comfortable with that. I don't want any type of assumptions made, things like that, right? And that just comes with leadership. And over time, you realize that not everybody that wants to see you has good intentions. And I hate to say it that way, right? That's a lack of trust on my part, right? But what did I do? I came up with a solution to kind of help induce the trust. But in that, anyone can come if the door's wide open. I don't care who you are. And it's not like, and it's one of those things like a lot of times everybody will come in and they'll stand like parade rest. And I'm like, no, sit down, please sit down, And it's always the first time or second time I have to tell them finally, just if you come into that door, sit down, let's talk. Actually, I think I did it at the academy too. But anyone can come in when the door's wide open and speak on whatever they want to. Now, I will be honest. That's part of that trust part with them. If you're wasting people's time, I'm gonna say, hey man, I think you're wasting some time here on this. This topic doesn't matter. If the door's cracked, you can still come see me. I asked you, did you knock? Because there's probably something very important going on, and that's why the door is cracked. And when I say cracked, I mean about 3 inches or so. And you can drastically notice that, right? Yeah. If the door is closed, it has to be an emergency. All right. So what am I doing? I'm trying to create this unseen trust through visual notifications of you need to see me, just come right in. Please make sure it's important or it's an emergency, that type of thing. I think we can do this in other ways though. And it's as a leader, how often do you just go and talk to people? Like battlefield circulation, we talk about it multiple times. How often do we do that? Do they feel comfortable in a conversation with you about said topic that you wanted to talk to them about? And you'll notice it because this is the one thing you'll always notice. There's going to be an awkward pause. When you've made a comment as the leader, they've answered it, and then you're just standing there. And you're just like, all right, well, this is uncomfortable because they're not comfortable with you around. Okay. Because they would keep talking. Right. Yeah. So I think that's just my idea, my outlook on it. I love to hear yours.
Yeah. I always told, first of all, if your soldiers don't trust you enough to come to you for a problem, you stop leading. Because you do have to have that trust. Mm-hmm. And we're going to kind of talk about that in the next episode. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of it starts with those day-to-day just, hey, how's it going? Yeah. Knowing stuff. Hey, how's your son? And hey, is your wife feeling better? Or hey, did your wife get that interview? That kind of stuff kind of starts building that care, which then fosters that trust and your ability to get into that area where they actually trust you. And a lot of times it's just, I don't know. I find with me, a lot of times it's about having those discussions, whether it be a tough discussion, a casual discussion, whatever it is, simple. You and I talked about earlier about going around and talking to the people in your organization and building that kind of cohesion that helps the trust. Some people are just, I have one guy, he's really, 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 really introverted. Literally, nobody can say they've ever had more than a 10-minute discussion with him. I have about 28 cadre. Mm-hmm. None of them can say they've talked to that guy for more than 10 minutes. But really? That's just his personality. He's super, Introverted, the young lady who's replacing me, gym rat, he's a gym rat. She's like, I'm going to get him to talk to me. I'm going to invite him to go to the gym. Goes to the gym, puts on Miami Vice soundtrack music, and just goes to work. But there's no discussion. It's just he's in there working out with her, but still. So there are those odd onesies, twosies that you're just not going to be able to mesh with. However, when he had a problem, he still came forward and says, hey, here's my situation I need some help with. Yeah. So it was weird, right? Because I have no communication with this guy. And then all of a sudden he's like, I have an issue, but I would like some help. So kind of weird, but yes, that lack of trust. Once you lose your soldiers or your subordinate or your team's trust or even your peers' trust, it's going to be hard to get back. I believe it's going to be very hard to get back. So you just got to be cautious with trust. It's not, I don't want to say fickle, but it's not a cemented thing. You can have somebody's trust, do one thing, boom, that trust is gone. And again, I think with your peers, it's as important, if not more important, than your subordinates. Because your peers need to know that you got their back, right? Like they need to trust that you've got their back. So yeah, so that's me and trust, kind of where I'm going with it as far as today's episode.
I think you made a very valid point. It's funny. It's something hard to receive trust, and it takes a while to get it for some people. But you can get rid of it like that, like quick. It's in an instant. And so it's just like, it's understanding that and building that you don't have to walk on eggshells. And sometimes you can develop more trust by being candid with people. But it's one of the key, I'm telling you, I've seen it and I've had it happen to me. Easiest way to lose trust is to cross somebody.
Yeah.
Basically, kind of cross them and go behind their back on something. You do that, you are going to lose trust in a matter of milliseconds. So, let's go to that next. That sixth and final area of challenges.
I like this one: stifled creativity. If a leader does not create an environment where everyone feels acknowledged, valued, it's going to stunt creativity and prevent the growth of a growth mindset. The growth of a growth mindset. So the people you work with need to feel like they can come to you with their ideas, right? Yeah. You got to create that environment where they're comfortable saying, hey, what about if we try this? And I feel like, I really hate to give you credit. I feel like you were very good at listening and then coming back with some feedback and saying, well, yes, but what about this other layer? What about, so that and then you're like, oh, you know what? I didn't think of that. But now I'm starting now next time that problem comes up, I'm like, oh, I need to think, this is so you got to understand the layers to the whatever the scenario is. Be creative. I mean, we really focus now at the junior level on critical and creative thinking. As an instructor, creative thinking is really paramount to developing your classes to keep the students involved, so you're not killing them with PowerPoint. And so I think that you got to really foster that environment where they feel like they can be creative. Now, let's not be ridiculous with the creativity where you're going off script completely, and that's where we come in as leaders and say, okay, yes, you're a little far outside the box. Let's come back in a little closer to the box. And I think you got something there. So, good example, go back to that land nav. The person I put in charge of land nav, 9/11 Bravo, we put a mechanic in charge, but that's already outside the box. Then I told him, hey, I need to know how you're going to get the cadre trained, certified to conduct it and to teach it. And this is how we came with the mass class. We did one big giant class with cadre roaming around, but he came up with those creative solutions to our problems. Yeah. And then I pulled him and said, hey, like you did, I know, I like to say, put my foot on your neck. I know I had my foot on your neck the whole time. Just means I put a lot of pressure on him. But your performance was fantastic. Yeah, because he knows I was hard on him, right? There was days because we had deadlines, whatever. But to tell them, hey, I know I was hard on you, but look at the outcome. Look what you did. Like you brought back something that's been gone for 5 years and you brought it from the ground up. So
Do you think there was because I listened to you say that, do you think that there was a massive amount of fear of failure in that whole process?
I don't think there was enough at times.
Really?
Yeah, I think it took him a little longer than I think it maybe could have to develop. Some of it too was we were short staffed, so he was spending more time in his classroom, and he really didn't have a lot of available time to do certain things because we were short staffed. The minute we weren't short staffed, though, he was on and popping. He was all over it after that. It was kind of some other things at play, right? Like if he's teaching every week, 3 days a week, he only has 2 days. Well, he's still got paperwork he's got to do. He's still got regular admin stuff he's got to do. And then he's got to go out to the training area. He's got to certify, because I'm going to tell you that place was tore down. He's got to certify all the different points. He's got to, so there's a lot to it. Now, I'll send you some pictures next time I go out there.
6 years.
Yeah.
And been touched in 6 years. So,
yeah. And one dude. And his weakness, and I told him this, does not trust others to accomplish a mission that he's responsible for. He wanted to do it all himself. And I said, it's impossible. There's 60 points out there. You're one human being. Like, but yeah.
I think that falls right into one of those, our 6 challenges we brought up was lack of trust.
Yeah.
Not trusting individuals around them to be able to accomplish, instead of, executing, plan. I love the operations process. A lot of people will tell you, I think it's a broader process, other than the 8-step training model. And I get it. The 8-step training model is an important piece that we can use. However, I love the operations process because it's plans, prepares, executes, and always assessing. And if you are dialing in those 4 areas constantly, you're going to do well. And I think in the planning process, you realized he had all these things to do. And in part of the preparation or even planning was not assigning tasks. This is your window. I need this done. Go get it. This is
Which
your
was
window.
my challenge. That was my challenge with him with that. And we did baseball cards for each of the cadre. And reading his baseball card is what cued me into why it was taking him so long.
Really?
Because he literally put a weakness on there of mine is trusting others to accomplish a mission I'm responsible for. And I was like, got it.
Yeah.
Called him up. I need to see him in my office. And we sat and talked about it. And then the next day, 2 days later, I see him. He is. He's got a picket pounder. He's got a shovel over his shoulder and nobody around. I said, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I said, I gave you 3 people to help. Where are they? Oh, I got it, sir. I said, absolutely not. You go get them and you get them to help you. Stop doing it alone.
Yep.
So,
that's the fastest way to burnout. Is you think, And it's crazy too when you think about that. And I guess you could add that to the growth mindset. As a leader, is as you're elevating in leadership positions, you still try to retain that I'll do it myself. I do it myself.
100%.
And
I'm very guilty. Yeah. I'm very guilty of that.
Yeah. I would definitely say that my current position, if there's any positions I've had so far, my current position has just blown my mind on how much I cannot do myself. Like I have to rely upon staff to get certain things done. I have to rely on first sergeants to get things done. Commanders, it is just so, you could be so overwhelmed that you would never have time for yourself, your family, or anything.
That's why that hierarchy is there too. Like that.
It is.
It's designed for that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not an easy lesson to learn.
It's not. And it takes a few bumps and bruises, and then you're just like, makes sense. That's why I'm allowed to say, hey, here's your task. Why don't you knock that out? Let me know when you get done, type of thing. And with that though, when you were talking about that, something like just hit me right in the face with it about stifling creativity. You said, hey, we can't get crazy outlandish, right? that's why I love the idea that we do have regulations and MILPER messages and DA PAMs, and in the service we have so many guidelines, and that's what I love about it. It's called guidelines, right? Officers, if anybody, if you're ever part, officers create a lot of the stuff that we have to follow, and then as enlisted, it's and especially NCOs, it's our job to ensure we're within those guidelines. And it could be creativity in like how we conduct PRT in the morning. It could be creativity in how we look at conducting command maintenance on Monday. You know, some people, maybe that doesn't work. Maybe that's not the perfect day for that. Right? Maybe it should be Wednesday instead, right? Like, allow us the time to ramp up for this massive command maintenance and then ramp down. You know, like there's so many things. And I would have to say that my current position, my direct supervisor, my boss, my colonel, his mindset is so growth, like it makes everyone capable of doing the things that they need to do to kind of improve the organization. Quick example. If you know anything about sit reps, situation reports, we often do these in organizations to kind of explain what we've done over a period of time. And anyone can look it up what a sit rep is, right? We have one commander, and he developed his by using approved AI programs. He used an approved AI program. He fed it the data that we're allowed to do, right? We only have our own, but he fed this certain data in there, and it spit out the phenomenal product that now it's like he's not wasting hours upon his time to, you know, research, right, do all these things to kind of get all the data points to do that. Yeah. It works though. It works and it helps. Yeah. But yeah, stifled creativity, that can be a problem because a lot of times, here's the other piece to me, is you'll have a leader who wants it done their way instead of just wants it done.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I want done. I don't want to tell you, Sergeant Major retired, Joshua Bryan will always tell you, just bake me a cake. I don't want to tell you how to make the cake. I don't want to tell you all the ingredients on it. Just bake me a cake and let me have it. That's
micromanagement. It's a terrible thing.
It is. But we're going to talk about how do we overcome some of these challenges we just discussed. We just went through a solid 6 challenges that leaders face when it comes to this growth mindset idea. And again, please, if you have a chance and you want to really dive into the growth mindset and what it means, or check out that book Mindset. It's definitely worth your time. I've been listening to it, and I'm almost actually done with it, but I listened to it and there's a lot of great points, and it's almost like you need to go back and revisit. Like, I know I have the hard copy and I need to, because I need to highlight some stuff that's really, really crucial. So we went through resistance to change. We went to fear of failure. We had ineffective feedback or recognition. We talked about fixed mindset culture. We talked about lack of trust. And then finally, we just hit upon stifled creativity. Now let's talk about how do we overcome these challenges? Well, let me get right off the bat. Number 1, embrace change. Embrace change. It's going to happen no matter what. When I went to PLDC, which is now BLC, it went from PLDC to WLC, now BLC, right? Primary Leadership Development course is what it was called for me. Yeah. That was in 2001 at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. We actually did it in the old buildings, the old white World War II buildings. They're no longer, I think, torn down, didn't they? Are they torn down?
Gone.
Yeah,
they're gone.
But one of the first things they told us, they said, listen, sergeants, because that's what you always call them, sergeants. Sergeants, the one thing you can depend upon is be prepared for change. I was like, the heck does that mean? Like, is like at first I thought, are they just going to like change this course on us automatically? And we're going to be like, we've been preparing for this one thing and it's going to get changed. Well, it could be. I don't know. It didn't happen that way, but it was like timelines, missions, things like that. Like, and as you gain time as a leader, especially as an NCO, it's like you learn like, okay, yeah, we may have had this mission set for this day at this time, but all of a sudden something else came through and supersedes that. And now we got to shift gears. We're over here now. We got to So you have to embrace the change and understand that you can shift mindsets. My buddy John Bonilla, I said it earlier, he says, is be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that allows you to embrace change. Leaders should embrace change and encourage their teams to do the same. By demonstrating a positive attitude towards change and viewing it as an opportunity for growth, leaders can help team members feel more comfortable with new ideas and approaches. Opportunity. I love that word. That helps you understand that instead of saying, oh, hey, we got a new situation, it's, hey, we have a new opportunity here. Right? I mean, in a sales pitch, that sounds great. It's like, hey, I see you have a problem. I'd like to offer you my solution. Hey, I'd like to offer you an opportunity, you know? So what are your thoughts on that whole embracing the change?
Well, I think it's important because all you do by being resistant to change is you're just causing yourself undue stress, undue, you're just getting yourself worked up on something that's going to happen. So that's why we say embrace it. Change is going to happen. The Army, as you and I know it, is not going to be the same in 5 years when I'm retired and you're still hanging around.
If I'm still in 5 years, brother, my wife is going to shoot me. Okay.
So, I mean, if you look at it, all right, you got rid of land nav, like you took it out of the curriculum in 2018. Yeah. That was a big change.
Huge.
Now here we are in 2024 and it's back in the curriculum. You know what I mean? Like that change is it ebbs and flows. I think before that, land nav was, when I went to WLC, did we do land nav? We did do land nav. I was going to say, but I mean, even the course we were talking about earlier, they're talking about making it a 30-day course again. Then right now it's a 19-day training schedule. Before that, it was like an 18-day. Then it was 15 days. Then before that, it was 30. Those changes, all you can do is get yourself worked up for no good reason. Change is going to happen, right? In your organization, in your household, you embrace it. It allows you to be in better control of your emotions and how you deal with it, and it lets you think more clearly.
Yeah. It's funny. In the change of seasons, right? Often in our households, depending upon where you live, in the change of seasons, your electric bill could go skyrocket, or it could stay the same, or it could go really low. You got to embrace that change, don't you? It's not like, oh, you know what? I'm just not paying.
I'm going to be resistant to it, but yeah, we got to embrace it.
You still have to do it. So it's just like, well, I guess we'll make changes here in the house so our bill isn't so high. I think of it kind of like that way. It's like, you're not stopping it. Like, why are you trying to, and it's, I love the idea of like embracing it. Like, to me, it's just, I like to see what the adventure is going to be. You know what I mean? Like, what is this
adventure?
What's the adventure going to be? So what's our next little
we're going to talk about model growth mindset behaviors. All right, this is like one of the oldest terms in the history of the NCO. It is lead from the front. Leaders can model the behaviors associated with the growth mindset, such as seeking feedback, embracing challenges, and learning from mistakes. Where I think this really stands out, Brian, is when the leader embraces the challenge, it creates that culture behind them that, hey, he's embracing it, let's move forward. When the leader goes, oh, this is so stupid, why do we have to do this? We should be doing something else. Then that also has a trickle down effect. And then those subordinates become disgruntled with changes, and that is not going to be helpful for a growth mindset. So, and then seeking feedback. I mean, hey, there is nothing wrong. Like I talked about my guy who wouldn't make decisions. There's nothing wrong if you making a decision, the event's over, and you come back and say, hey, do you have anything for me? Nope. And then that's it. Or, hey, good decision, not great. This is what you should be thinking about these other effects. Like you're thinking here, I need you to think second and third order effects of that decision. Oh, you know what? That's right. Good example. Soldiers are getting on the trucks, the truck briefing. What do we say in the truck briefing? Oh, you left this thing out. I happen to have been here when a soldier got hurt getting off the truck. That's why you need to do that.
Yeah.
In the briefing, so those are the things like, yeah, your briefing was okay, but you're not thinking about, and the only reason I'm thinking about it is because I actually saw it happen. So let's tell them, do not jump off the trucks. Do not jump off the ladder at any point. Touch every rung.
Yep.
He's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now that you're telling me that happened to a soldier, they got hurt. So that's how you kind of give that feedback that's going to help grow those individuals.
Absolutely. Something came to mind when we talked about modeling the growth mindset behaviors. I think about Roy Benavidez. I think about in his story, he goes into before he becomes SF and whatnot. He talks about when he was an advisor in Vietnam, steps on a landmine, gets blown up, breaks his back. Could he have accepted that? Could he have accepted being discharged from the army? Because that's what they wanted when he was in the hospital, and his wife's by his side, and she's crying, and he's upset, and he's crying, and they're telling him, "Hey, we're going to discharge you," and I think we had two people grow here, the doctor and himself, right? He convinced the doctor, he said, "Doc, if I can get up and walk out that door in X amount of days, will you tear up those paperworks, discharge me?" And the doctor said, "Yeah." So to me, that was a growth mindset for that doctor. The second part was his ability to strive, to fall out of the bed every night, to crawl in dire pain to the side of the wall, and then basically lift himself against the wall, and then try to stand up every single night. The very first night, I think it was like some of the guys were like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And they got the nurses in there. And nurses like, "No, you can't do this, Sergeant Benavidez. You got to stay in your bed, blah, blah, blah." But he kept doing it. And to the point where I think we can include a third person or group of people was the ones cheering him on. And he talks about it in the book. It talks about how it turned into a more like they were just wanting to see what he was going to do next. And they would cheer him on. "Yeah, come on, Roy, you can do it." And he was able to stand up finally. And then the day that that doctor came back, that they had set the time limit on, he stood up, walked right out the front door of that hospital, and never got discharged. And to me, that's a growth mindset, right? That's on multiple levels. Like, not only did he have a growth mindset for himself, the doctor did, that somebody could do it, and then he had those other patients that were there that saw that he could do it. So I think I want to leave it at that. I feel like that's probably one of the best shining examples that you and I, we've both appreciated learning about his story.
Yeah, no, that's excellent, Brian. I think we'll leave it there. Only thing I was going to say is, when you think about him, go back. SMART goals. We did an episode, SMART goals. So that's what he really did, right?
A lot of shameless plugs from you today. A lot of shameless plugs.
All over it today.
Yeah, I can't wait.
He had a specific, measurable, achievable goal that was relevant, and he had a timeline that he gave the doctor. So SMART goals, which we're going to talk about later on in future episodes again, but we've also done an episode. So
yeah,
rewind, reference that, like and share.
Thumbs up, everybody, right now. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. Number 3, overcoming challenges. Provide support and feedback. So we mentioned earlier, bad feedback, bad recognition. So offering support and feedback to team members is crucial. Leaders should provide the necessary resources, training, and coaching to help team members adapt to new ideas and methods. Constructive feedback and recognition can also motivate team members to embrace a growth mindset. It is simple as, and man, I've got James's coin in my truck. It's been sitting there because I told him I wanted to give it to him personally. But it's as simple as, I know something's going on, and I go find a soldier, and I just slap that coin in their hand and say, "Hey, thanks for doing that. Thanks for going out of your way and working on this," and blah, blah, blah. My commander and I, we went and did it the other day at in our SSA. You're familiar with an SSA. You know it's like.
I am.
Now I have an SSA that I get to go visit and see, and they are, I would consider them our battalion called the Workhorse. They are a workhorse. They get after it, and they get a ton of work. So we made sure to go see them and go say thank you. I bring it up during formation. So we hold a battalion formation twice a week. Once in the morning on Monday, the last formation on a Friday. So it's like we come into the work week, we go out of the work week. We get to see everyone. And last week, my message going into it was, be good humans. Be good humans to other people, right? My message coming out of the week was, hey, listen, don't let the work week end you being good humans. We have X amount of people in this organization, if every one of you do something nice for somebody else, this X amount of good behavior that we have, that we get to do stuff for other people. So, support, give feedback. It's finding what's good in what's going on too, right? Because a lot of times, what do we do? Like a lot of times we evaluate it to find out what's wrong with it because we need to fix that. Well, what if we took a growth mindset and it said, instead of focusing on what was wrong, let's focus on what went right and say, how do we strengthen that? How do we make that stronger? You know what I mean? Like, I get really passionate about that part because it's like, I hate it when we just grind in like, you said in AARs, it's like, how often does the AAR just go into all this wrong instead of, well, we saw all this that went right. How do we make that the standard across the Army, or how do we make that the most important thing we can do? So that's my take on that. Provide that support and feedback.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, the coin thing. It's a quick hit recognition for a good job. I mean, sometimes some of us don't. We may not have coins, but what about like just hey? You did, like I said with my land nav guy, I pulled him aside and said, "Hey, man, like I know I was hard on you, but look what you did. Look at this." Like he felt good about that because look what you achieved. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I didn't give him a coin, didn't give him a award, but wow, like a data boy go a long way. Yeah. Sometimes that's all people want is just to be recognized that hey, you did that. That was fantastic. And then the feedback, like big thing for me. Providing the necessary resources, the training, coaching. So as we introduce this land nav thing, like I got cadre who have done land nav since they were in basic training. Well, they're going to train soldiers. So how do I get them to where they're able to train soldiers? Well, at first I got to get them trained. Yeah. And then we got them all trained up. They all passed the land nav course. They did a great job. And then we identified, well, wait a minute. They can execute it, but some of them cannot teach it. They're not comfortable in front of students telling. And it was because a cadre openly told the students, "Yeah, I don't know what I can do it. I don't know what I'm doing up here right now." But I had to figure out. I had to provide them that training, and we did. But what I did goes into our next point, Brian. So I'm going to just not caveat. I'm going to move straight into it. I know you love caveat. I'm going to move straight into it. So what I did is I encouraged collaboration and teamwork. Yes. I identified an instructor who is very good at it, who was very good at, as we would say, Barney styling land nav and teaching it. Put him in his classroom a couple of times, said, hey, teach the cadre how to do land nav. He went up there. He said, this is how I would teach it. He put the slides up, not my guidance. This is what I want you to do. Execute. Put the slides up, said, okay, on this slide, what I really go over with the students is this. What I would do if I were you, I like to discuss these things. So he was showing them, this is how I teach, slide by slide by slide. Then the next time we had a break, he did it again. Went in a little more detail. Then when the students got up there, I put them all in one area. He led the charge, but I gave him 4 more instructors. I said, these are your assistants. Use them. Everyone else will float and take notes on how you're giving the class to students with real students now. Those notes is what will drive how they teach. Yeah. Right? So I'm encouraging that collaboration, that teamwork, that really fostering that strong collaboration within the team will cultivate a growth mindset. He worked with people from other platoons. He worked with the student. He worked with so many people. Yeah, he's one person, but he's training, 27, 28 others. And now they're all understanding. And now they go to him when they have an issue with it or they don't understand something. And that's what I really wanted. Yeah. The other thing we've done is all the senior platoon sergeants are on one hallway. They're all together. And the reason is, you shouldn't come to my office if you haven't talked to 5 other people, your peers. So they collaborate on that hallway. By the time a problem gets to my office, they usually come in and say, hey, I talked to Sergeant First Class, boom, 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 boom. Maybe it's not all 5. Maybe I talked to 3 of them. Okay. So now we can have this discussion because you've tried to work as a team and collaborate, and it didn't work. But that's why they've moved them. We've got them all in one hallway. Is that to feed that growth?
Yeah, you just hit me two things that encourage collaboration and teamwork thing. All right, so first one, so I want to write this down and then this down. These two things. All right, so first one, you brought up about the land nav. I can take us back to, I think it was 2016. When did you take the podium? 2016.
16. Yep.
Yeah, because you got 2016.
I know where you're going.
My office is directly across the hallway from your classroom.
Yep.
You walked in my office. You legit looked at me in the face and said, I have no idea what I'm doing with this class. Can you come teach it for me and show me? I said, hell yeah, man, I'll do it. No problem. And I came in, and it was that you sat there like you were a student in the back. I went through my version of how I taught land nav. And then as we got through the class, like you started doing the same, like you started jumping in, and you like, it was almost like your wheels started turning, and you just, and you just took it right over. And then I jumped out. And I think that was part of that growth mindset. Like, but what did it require? It required you to say something to somebody else. Me at the time, would you mind coming and helping me? Like a lot of times with our growth mindset, we forget that there are people out there that could help us. You know, I can't go to an SSA and tell you how certain things go, but I know some people. I could ask you in a heartbeat and be like, hey, James, we're doing this, this, and this. What do you think? How do you think we get past that? Which I may ask you sooner or later, but I'm seeing we got a good team right now. But that's the thing. That's part of that you can encourage collaboration all you want, but until somebody reaches out, they're not going to get it, right? So what we have to do is we have to encourage that part too, right?
Yeah.
And then the second thing you mentioned, that it just like my mind went into a massive overdrive. You mentioned about you have all of them in the same row there at they have to hit each other before they can come see you. Last week, one of my first sergeants, I think it was on Tuesday. Yeah, it was on Tuesday because he spent a lot of time. We have Wi-Fi in our building, which is pretty cool. And he just sat there on and used instead of going back to his office because we had a meeting there. So he just did a lot of his work right in our conference room. And I walk in the conference room and I see him, he's on his phone and he's building a chat group. And I said, what are you doing, man? So you got all the first ones on there. Where am I at? You know, type thing. He's like, well, you know, sometimes we gotta work amongst ourselves before we come see you or we add it to your chat. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, man. And I told him, I said, I'm happy you're doing that because you know what, that does create that collaboration, right? They're using each other's experiences, knowledge, understanding, and they're coming up with solutions without having to go see the next guy, right? The guy that's supposed to be in charge. And I'm not really in charge of them. Like, I'm not. Like, they have commanders that rate them. They have the lieutenant colonel that senior rates them. I'm not anything part of that. Now, I may give them tasks, say, hey, we need to get this done, stuff like that. But could they just tell me no and forget about it? Yeah, they probably could. It may not work in their benefit. However, you know, I mean, it's the same way like with my boss and his boss, you know, like it's just, but I think it's funny you brought both those up and it just like, it's as you said, you mentioned each topic you're going to, I was like, boom, like, oh my goodness. Here's a perfect example of what I seen. Same thing. Yeah. And in both situations, it has made things better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it does. And I mean, when I first got there, I wanted to separate them and put them with their own platoons. But then I saw how it was working ish, and I got it to work better, but it wasn't, you know, originally it was like 2 or 3 of them would talk. They wouldn't all talk.
Yeah.
And I got them past that. And actually, one of them came to me and was like, hey, like, you're doing too much.
Yeah.
Let me talk to the rest of my peers. And I want you to take a step back, but let me talk to them and I'm going to explain to them how we're going to work it. And ever since then, I've been kind of like, okay, you got it. Now, if it comes to my office, then that means it's a real issue. They've usually handled it because, I mean, they're all seniors.
Yeah.
Granted, I only have one that's ever been a senior before he came here. So the experience is not there, but they also all very much respect him. So they go to him for that stuff. He's kind of like a mediator between them and me.
Right.
Then when he comes to my office, I talk trash to him first, then we address the issue.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of this, and with the very next one, it's kind of going to smooth transition right into the next one. A lot of it has to come down to that leader's involvement, right? You have to be involved. If you're an absentee leader, then you might as well just quit. Just stop. Don't even be there if you're an absentee, because you have to be involved. You don't have to know everything that's going on, micromanaging it type of thing. But what you do is you have to understand what's going on and be able to identify, oh, we got an issue over here. We got to take care of this. Or, oh, hey, this is working really good. We need to really focus in on this, that type of thing. But with that, you have to also understand how to address the fear of failure. You have to address it. Leaders need to create an environment where failure is seen as a learning opportunity rather than a setback. This involves repositioning how the team thinks about failure and ensuring that the team members do not fear negative consequences for taking risks. Taking risks. We have, over the years, become risk adverse as a society. Risk adverse. Oh, I'm worried about if I say this, somebody's going to say this about me, or if I do this, somebody's going to think I'm this. If I drive this certain way, well, I would just be careful how you drive. Yeah. But being risk adverse, right? You can't live in that fear of what could happen. And, I mean, I got it. If you're driving 100 miles an hour and you have to go around a corner, you're probably not going to make the corner. Like physics can tell you that all day long. Like it's not going to happen. Right. But if you have to implement a new step in a process or a new process, how do you know what's going to happen on the other end? If you're just scared to do it, you don't like your block. You got this styrofoam wall in front of you. And you're allowing that styrofoam wall, instead of busting through that styrofoam wall or just pushing it to the side and just going to the objective. Like that's kind of one of those things. It's like, and how do we as leaders, how do we encourage that? I think some of that comes into the questioning process, right? I read a book quite a ways back, and I try to use the philosophies within it, and it's the coaching process type thing. I don't remember the exact name of the book. I got to look it up, but I have talked about it on here. It's about coaching, and part of coaching is asking the right questions. Yes, no questions are not a good question to ask when it comes to addressing fear of failure. It's like, hey, are you scared of this? Yes. Why? That's the follow-up question should be why. Well, if this happens, then what do you think could happen? Well, and we could look at it as an MRT thing, right? We've talked about catastrophizing in MRT. One of the things of catastrophizing is you go from a situation to the worst possible thing ever. Instead, it's like, okay, well, here's the thing. What's the worst possible thing that could happen? What's the best possible thing that could happen? Well, don't you think it could just happen the middle? Could it be both, type thing. So I think really it's understanding how to address stuff with people as a leader, and being observant. You have to be approachable. You have to be there. Can't be absentee, or you'll never address it. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to like making sure people understand, like, it's okay. Failure is an opportunity. It's not the end of the world. It's not a career ender. Again, legal, moral, ethical, no, not cost anybody life, limb, or eyesight. Because they gotta grow. I mean, if I didn't make mistakes along the way, I don't know where I'd be now. I don't know that I'd be retiring. You had to make those mistakes.
I don't know if
I remember. I remember getting a good. What's a good way to put it? A stern speaking to, because it felt like every language. Yeah, we were sitting around at the end of every day, and we were doing nothing. And then finally, I started telling the soldiers, like, "Hey, go home, answer your phone. I'll call you if anything comes out of the meeting," because we were having our company meeting was every day, but it was at the end of the day.
Yeah,
right. And I was like, we're sitting here until 6:00. I know what goes on in these meetings. It's 30 minutes of relevance and 30 minutes of messing around, laughing, joking, and smoking, whatever.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, so why am I wasting? So I would send them home, and I got I got a tongue lashing. You know, I took it though. I took it, and I also, which goes into our next one, this challenging the fixed mindset culture. I also spoke my mind and said, hey, like, this seems a bit ridiculous to me. I have sat in for you as the platoon sergeant. I know there's only 30 minutes of that meeting that's relevant. So, yeah, all right, Roger, you're the platoon sergeant, tracking that you have that authority. I don't have the authority in your organization to release the soldiers, but also, like, we're wasting their time. And I think at the time we were gearing up to deploy. I was at Fort Hood, so we were gearing up to deploy. We had only been home for a few months. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like their time is so valuable and we're wasting it. This individual didn't care. Okay, Roger, I'll do some push-ups. You can yell at me while I do them. But I'm going to let you know why I think that, you know.
It's definitely one of those things. Yeah. You think about wasting people's time in a civilian organization. Time is money. And a lot of times, don't keep them on the clock. Don't keep them on the clock.
Oh,
you know?
no.
I mean, if your salary base is different, like we are, we're salary based in a sense. But it's just you're absolutely correct. Don't waste people's time.
Because I think with my wife, like, if they call her on the weekends, I think it's 4 hours mandatory, or it's a certain amount of time they have to pay her. If it takes her 10 minutes to resolve that call, they still pay her for the however many hours it is.
Oh my goodness!
The civilian sector, they don't play around. Like, there's no time wasting. When I was in Europe, I had a German guy work for me. He was a local national. If you called him, he was paid for 4 hours. And we would tell the organizations who were coming over there for training, like Third Cab, don't call him about cleaning your equipment. Don't call him on the weekends. And they would call him. And then he would put in his overtime. And then we would go, why has this guy got like 300 hours of overtime? Well, that's why. Because Third Cab. Organizations would call.
Stop. I don't know who you're talking about. This is ridiculous.
But yeah, so in the civilian sector, wasting time is, you know.
Let's hit that next one then.
Challenging a fixed mindset. So when we run into that fixed mindset culture, we have to challenge, right? So we have to have the intestinal fortitude to be willing to challenge that and to try to change this. Are we always going to? Absolutely not. Some people are just going to be like, no, that's the way we're doing it. My house, my rules, that kind of thing. But if you don't stand up, like I was saying with the example, and say, hey, sorry, like, we're wasting their time. We're wasting 30 and 45 minutes of their valuable time when we could just, they're responding when I tell them and call them, you know. So I feel that an issue with a lot of leaders, especially in the military as we get older, is we forget what it was like to be the soldier getting our time wasted. And therefore, we stop challenging people above us. We're so worried about evaluations and all this other stuff that we don't want to be seen as too challenging. So we stop.
Risk adverse.
Yeah. But I will tell you, a wise captain that I worked for in Europe said the most dangerous thing is a master sergeant who's retiring. Because I'm not afraid to challenge anything, because what are you going to do at this point? I'm retiring. That's all that's going to happen. So I would speak my mind, and she would say, most dangerous thing in the Army, I'm telling you.
I think you're right though. Challenge that fixed mindset, because
100%.
Because there's often and that's challenging that the same thing as challenging. This is how we always did it. Like challenge, like, well, what if we did this instead?
Why do we do it that way?
Yeah, why? You know, it's asking those questions, and I don't want to fixate too much on that, because I feel like the understanding is like, hey, yes, there's other ways. There's always other ways. Now, are there some things that we do that we have to do it that way all the time? Absolutely. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to run a range and let people just walk down range while we're shooting. Not going to happen. Yeah. You know, sorry, that's not happening. You know, like we're on this. So for instance, let's say we're on the zero range. It's like, well, hey, he's over there. Why can't he just walk down to his target and her over there, and she walked down to her target while I'm still shooting? No, Like there's some risk we take.
Yeah.
There's some
So
it's just
we are not.
stupid. We're not going to take that risk. But yeah, exactly. And that's where I want to lead right into, because to me that when you have that, right, if we were to do that, you're going to lose a lot of trust in the fact that I'm not going to shoot somebody that's to my left or to my right. Right.
Yeah.
So build trust. Establishing trust within the team is essential. Leaders should show genuine care for their team members and act in their best interest to foster a trusting environment where a growth mindset can thrive. I'm seeing it now a little bit too, is where there's people in certain positions, and not in maybe a leadership position, but maybe in a subordinate position where their trust is lost in that subordinate too. Right. So it's like so if you're listening and you're a subordinate to somebody else, remember, like, your trust can be lost just as fast as a leader's trust to you, and it's understanding that, because
100%.
Because now it's like, can I trust you by giving you this and having you do this? Can I trust you to be alone with somebody of opposite gender? Right. Okay, we can get into that. Like, that's a whole nother topic of things that people do, they shouldn't do, or whatever. However, it's, can I trust you to be a good person, right? Instead, because there are people, I mean, I hate to say it, man, there's people out there that they will put themselves before someone else. There's people out there who will look for personal gain in other people's losses. I mean, just as well as I do, how many messed up text messages do you get? Somebody soliciting something, or phone calls. Like, that's what they're doing. They're trying to, like, get your trust, and then they're going to take something from you, or how many times does somebody's Facebook account get hacked, or how many times does somebody's bank account get overdrawn because somebody else has got access to that account somehow, some magical, what I mean? Like, so trust is a two-way street, no matter what. And we have to be able to focus. If we're going to focus on one person, we need to focus on both sides of it. Sometimes I think what happens is, and I've seen it myself, where it's like the senior, the leader is like, trust me. Just let me do the things I can and I will do it for you. And then the other side is like, well, I don't have to give you my trust, or you don't have to trust me. I'm just going to do it. Like, if I can't trust you to do what you're supposed to, and you can't trust me, we're creating this massive implosion within. So, but I think that comes down to being a good human. I'll say it 100 times: be a good human.
Be a good human. I think you're right too. Like, the trust is a two-way street, because a lot of times, like, you'll be given a scenario from your subordinate, and you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to blah blah blah. Let me handle it.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. Domestics. Don't call your wife. Don't go home. Let me see what we can do through my leadership. And then the next thing you know, they're like, hey, the soldier just choked his wife out in the front of the house. And it's like, I told him, do not go, like, don't go near her. Like, you know what I mean? And they just do what you tell them. I mean, we trust the soldiers aren't going to get DUIs. But I can scroll down Clarksville arrest every Monday and find about 6 DUIs on there. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna unfortunately happen. Not all soldiers, because Clarksville actually puts soldier in their name. If they don't put soldier, it's a civilian one. But still, like, you trust. Every time you get in a car, I trust that somebody's not drunk driving. But they are. So within your organization, that trust, it comes from your actions. Back to lead by example, your actions is where that trust is going to come from, if you're the subordinate or the leader. And that's what creates that growth mindset. That's what lets the organization get better. That's what lets you lead better or be a better follower, that trust. So,
Let's move on then. Creating new experiences, encouraging new experiences, actually.
Encouraging new experiences. Yeah. So leaders can encourage team members to step out of their comfort zone and try new things. Love this. This is one of my favorite things, Brian. Been one of my favorite things the whole time I've been a branch chief. Cadre says to me, I've never competed for the facilitator of the cycle. Oh, congratulations, you will be. Well, I don't want to. No, you're gonna.
That's not just encouraging.
Well, the encouraging. So I had another one. he had never mentored anybody. He'd been working there for 2.5 years. Never mentored a incoming new facilitator. And I asked him why, and he couldn't tell me why. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to tell you, I think you'll be fantastic. I want you to do it. And he says, oh, I don't know. I don't think I'll be that good. I said, trust me. I've watched you teach. I've listened to you teach. I think you'll be good. That he probably produced 2 of the best cadre since I've been there.
It's awesome.
2 of the best. Now, one of them went on recruiting orders and had to go away. But the other one, her first class, I already had people who had been there for years going, I've never seen somebody that good that fast.
That's awesome.
And I told him, I said, this is what I meant. When I said, trust me, I knew you have more. You were just hesitant. You fear of failure. Mm-hmm. You had a fear of not doing well. And then I let him stay. I made that his teaching partner as his kind of like that boy. So you did such a good job with her. She's going to teach with you from now on. And they are excellent together.
Dynamic team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in my old classroom, so they were destined for greatness. But that's where you get into challenge them. Get out your comfort zone. You can't be comfortable with everything, right? You talk about being comfortably uncomfortable. Joe Rogan talks about it with the sauna. That's why he does what he does in his sauna, is because he's trying to make himself comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The ice bath thing, it's real. It's uncomfortable. Like, so I do it. And I'll stand up.
It's fantastic. I love it.
I get up in the morning and I get in there. So I'll stand over it. And I have I've told this to my soldiers. I use my Whoop to track it. And if I touch the start button on it, I have 5 seconds to get in and get submerged. Like mentally, I have to do that. Like I don't give myself an option that once I've hit that start button, it's in and down, straight in and down. I don't stand like in it in my knees and like, okay, I can do this and then slowly move down. No, it's in and down. And
we need to talk about what you're using, because I want one for home.
Oh, absolutely. We can talk about it. Yeah. I right now I don't have a chiller. So I have to use whatever the ambient temperature. So far, I mean, we're not into the summertime yet. So far my temperature stays in the 50s for the temperature in the water. But yeah, it's something else. And I started it like a buddy of mine. Actually, I got quite a few buddies who do it now. That all of them have been doing it, and I was like, well, I'm going to start doing it too. And it's something. It's different. It's not one day do you just say, oh, I want to get in there. Not once. I haven't had one time yet, but like, I mean, I can't wait to get in that ice bath. Instead, it's kind of like, this is going to suck. All right, but once you're in it. It's almost like as long as you don't move around a bunch, it's almost like you get, it's sudden shock. Cause I watch my heart rate. My heart rate will spike up to about 101, 105, 110, 110. It'll spike up and then it'll level off and then it'll drop. And it'll like, I've had times, James, where I'm sitting in there and my heart rate is 38 beats per minute. Just sitting there. Yeah. I'm just like, calm, cool, collective. And I usually go 4 minutes. I just go 4 minutes a day. Actually I haven't gone in a couple days now because I got a bunch of pollen that got in mine. So I had to clean it out. We're getting a lot of pollen here at the time. I think you're right. And I feel like encouraging new experiences is great. I encourage you to try the ice bath. I don't know if you'll like it or not. It's fun.
Oh, I've done it. I want one for home. I do it in the tub, but I feel like,
I just don't like it in the tub. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm 6'4", so.
And okay, I'm not as big as you, but it's tough. With the one that I have, like I fit right in there perfectly, and it didn't cost me that much money. But again, like are there other options? Could I stand in a cold shower? Yeah, I just don't like it doesn't. I don't feel like I'm getting after what I need to. It's not the same. Like it's totally two different things. In a tub, it's kind of weird being a big tall dude and you're trying to like scoot in there and get like low, and it's not comfortable. And it's not uncomfortable because of the cold. It's uncomfortable because of the position you're in, right? And I think that's really all I had on that whole encouraging new things.
Yeah.
Review and improve new ideas. review
AAR.
and improve. Exactly. Like you said it multiple times. We did a show on AAR and how to conduct an AAR. And you can do an AAR in any type of setting, any type of organization. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with a group. What I liked was that is it says improve new ideas, right? So review it, improve new ideas. Are we focusing in on one thing? Are we honing in on the bad? No, it's good to know it and identify it, but don't hone in on that all the time, because now what do we create? We're discouraging others from wanting to do anything beyond what is the norm, what we normally do. Like let's encourage by saying, hey, I love the idea that we did this, and this way. Like let's keep that up. And you're going to, when you do that, you're going to create this lift, and the organization is going to go up. It's guaranteed. By implementing these different strategies that we just kind of went over, they were rather broad. And the reason we keep it broad is because we want them to be able to fit in anybody's situation, right? We're bringing the idea up so you can think about that, and you can say, how do I get that at the crossroads I'm at right now? Because, they were talking about, doing it in a cat. Well, maybe my organization doesn't fit that way, or my organization doesn't work that way. No, it's knowing the fact that you can do all the things of like embracing the change. You can do the encouraging collaboration, teamwork. That's now, because there's no manual on like you can say there's tons of books. There's all these, like the Army has a manual on leadership, but there's no like if X happens, Y will be next, and then Z. If A happens, then B, then C. It's not like that. A happens, you may end up at M, you may go back to C, and then you go to Z. Like you don't know. So it's understanding that, like, hey, just realize we're going to get to a certain point where you got to do your own thinking. That's why we offer up the ideas on the show. It's instinctive influencers for a reason. We're trying to provide tools to allow you the instinct of doing the things you need to do to be influential. Leaders play a crucial role in promoting a growth mindset. Can you hear my hound dog? He's going off downstairs.
Yeah, Winston was just barking, dude.
He's going off downstairs. That means there's probably a child at the door wanting to come play VR with my kids. So promoting a growth mindset and continuous learning within their teams by providing learning opportunities and fostering a culture that values growth. They can enhance individual capabilities, strengthen collective knowledge and experience. I love that experience part, because we could go to Kolb real quick. Experiential learning, right? Yeah. That's part of this, and I can't remember. Did we do a show on? It's been so long. I think we did on experiential learning. I can't remember.
I don't think we did.
Well, we'll revisit it because it's it's a powerful method, and you can use it in a lot of things. And ultimately drive success of their team and organization. Like the growth mindset it's just that. It's growth. If you're as a leader in an organization, you want your organization to become better, to make more money, to create a more trusting environment. It's called growing for a reason. Fixed means I'm stuck right at that point.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. There's no growth, right? There's no getting better. That's why like taking on that growth mindset is great as especially as non-commissioned officers. Like we've seen it throughout our career where we've all seen it, and we've probably all did it where we were fixed at something. I was fixed on this. But then accepting a change and then moving on. And it's a great thought process. Your final thoughts before we wrap this up, brother?
I mean, we have both of us. I know for sure I had a fixed mindset at one point. Very much, I think experiential learning helped me to get better at that. Maturity in the Army, maturity in life, period, have let me kind of grow beyond that. I think the real focus here has to be it's a growth mindset and stuff like the instinctive influencers, or if you like Jocko's podcast, or there's so many podcasts out there, history that doesn't suck, really good podcast. all these different podcasts out there are opportunities for you to learn, grow, and develop. Whatever your subject is, there's podcasts on, bourbon you can listen to. There's podcasts on history, I mean, I don't know why you would listen to a podcast about math, but if that's your thing, but there are opportunities to grow. There's books, there's audio books, so many opportunities to grow. Simon Sinek, fantastic. So I think those are key. And I think spending time and doing some self-reflection and realizing areas that you could improve on and seeking those areas out. Just going to make you better as a leader within your organization, which is going to make your organization better, which is going to allow you to leave it better than you found it.
James, it's funny. We bring up all these topics all the time, and we get to sit here and we get to talk about them. We explore things. We think about things through our experiential learning. But we also offer up a chance for our listeners to help us grow, to become better. Like, you see the transition coming, my man. You know it's coming.
Ooh.
Yes. I want to get into I want to because my man The Rock's back here. Oh, there he is right there. Because I'm a huge fan. I got a Zoa right there also. I'm probably gonna have to get sponsored one day. However, it's it's the ideas behind it. I want to go into you don't know, you don't know. Anyways, but our ability to allow those who listen, those who watch, to help us grow. Is there a way that they can reach out to us, that they can tell us, hey, this is what we like about that show, or this is what we'd like to hear from a future show? Is there a method that they can use, James?
Are you doing a promo right now?
Cut the promo.
Yes, they can. They can look for us on social media at 101 Influence. We are on, for sure, we're on the book, Instagram, X now. Yeah, I'm not on there, but X. But you can reach out through these different avenues. Our staff is anxiously standing by, waiting for you to join the group. Go to Facebook, like the page, join the page, and of course, you can see Brian's beautiful face and my scruffy chin on YouTube. You can go check us out on there for the Instinctive Influencers podcast on YouTube. I'm going to work on my backdrop here for the next episode, and then
I want to get some more stuff up here somewhere at some point. Just kind of getting there, But hey, thumbs up if you would on that. If you're watching any episodes, you got all the masks.
No, you see that?
All that, the painting. Ooh, that's when I started picking up painting.
Yeah, created by a legend. Hopefully, it's going to be worth 50 cents one day. Oh,
yes, yeah, absolutely. And thank you so very much for those of you who do listen, who do watch. I don't really want to kind of lead us too far down the road in all the chit chat, all the glamour, glitz, everything. However, don't wait until tomorrow to be extraordinary today. Remember that. I am Brian.
And I am James.
Thank you so very much for listening. Have a great day.